The sky above Colony 17 turned red as a strange pulse shook the ground under their feet. The guards at the eastern wall had no time to raise the alarm. Something moved beyond the horizon, fast, silent, and cruel. Then came the roar of weapons. No human had ever heard before. Larsen, a repair technician, stood frozen in the courtyard. His wrench fell from his hand. He had never trained for war. He was not a soldier, not even close. But what he saw rushing toward them wasn't just a threat. It was the beginning of extinction. Alien machines tore through metal gates like paper. The defense grid didn't even slow them. People screamed, ran, or stood dumbfounded like him. That's when she arrived, tall, armored, with black hair that moved like flame, and eyes that glowed like frozen suns. She was the queen of the Zerak Dominion. She looked down at the humans, her voice calm, amused. So this is Earth's hope? Pathetic. Then she saw Larsen. His uniform was stained with oil, his hands soft, and his eyes wide with confusion. She laughed, cruel and loud, and said, "Even your warriors are weaker than our children." Larsen didn't move. He couldn't, but something burned inside his chest, not fear, not shame, but something else. Her words cut deeper than the smoke, filling the air. And when her warriors moved to strike the wounded near him, he stepped forward without thinking. He didn't know how to fight, but he knew how to protect. He grabbed a broken pipe and shouted at the creature, swinging wildly. The alien snarled, hissed, but backed away for a second. That second was enough. The mother behind him pulled her injured son to cover. One of the Zerak guards stepped forward to silence him, but the queen raised a hand. "No," she said, "let the toy play." Her voice echoed through the burning ruins. "I want to see what this repairman can do." She didn't expect much. Zerak queens were raised in war. Their empires spanned 3 galaxies. But this human, this soft, powerless human, did something strange. He didn't run. He didn't surrender. He looked her in the eyes and said, "You're standing on our home. And I fix broken things." It made no sense to her, until he reached into the rubble and connected 2 sparking wires. Lights burst on across the courtyard. A disabled mech unit behind the queen suddenly came to life. It recognized his access code. It was old Earth tech, but still deadly. The queen's smile vanished as the mech pointed its cannon at her guard. With one shot, the alien fell. Larsen didn't flinch. He stepped forward and touched another panel. Another drone woke up, then another. Not soldiers, but tools. Built by humans. Controlled by him. Zerak warriors moved fast, but they didn't understand this system. They didn't understand that humans didn't just fight, they built. And when something broke, they didn't cry, they repaired. And sometimes, those repairs turned into weapons. The queen moved forward slowly. "You are not a warrior," she said. "You are nothing." Her eyes flashed. "I've conquered 100 worlds. I crushed armies. You think this junk can stop me?" Larsen looked at her, heart racing. "I'm not a warrior," he said. "Again, but maybe that's why you're afraid of me. You don't know what I'll do. I don't even know myself. That's the human problem, isn't it? You can't predict us." She screamed and sent a signal through her helm. 10 drones flew toward him, their wings cutting air like razors. The mechs turned and opened fire. Sparks filled the courtyard. The air turned to heat. But Larsen was already diving, rolling, unlocking panels no one else would think to touch. He rerouted power. He flipped old breakers. The colony grid lit up in sections. Defense turrets, long thought dead, began humming again. The eastern tower, cracked and dark, shot out a rail beam of white fire. One Zerak dropship exploded in the air like a firework. The queen watched, her expression dark. She was no longer amused. This wasn't a fight. It was something she didn't understand. It was chaos turned into purpose. It was madness turned into power. It was human, and right in the center of it was the man she mocked, powerless, dirty, untrained, who now stood with 20 active defense systems and a swarm of drones behind him. He didn't smile. He didn't taunt. He just stared at her with steady, burning eyes. The queen raised her blade, long and glowing. "I will end this with my own hand," she said. But even her generals paused. For the first time in her reign, they saw her unsure. And all because of one man who didn't back down, didn't bow, and didn't break. Larsen picked up a tool from the floor, a fusion coil meant for power relays. He powered it up like a bomb and whispered to no one, "You called me powerless. You should have left me broken." Asterisk. The burning remains of the courtyard hissed under the rain that finally began to fall. The red glow in the sky faded, but the smell of scorched metal and blood still hung heavy. Larsen stood surrounded by active turrets, reprogrammed mechs, and a silence that didn't feel like peace. The queen didn't move. Her golden armor reflected the fires, and her black blade hummed in her hand. Around her, the Zyrak warriors waited, unsure if they should attack or retreat. She had never hesitated before. But now she watched him with something close to confusion. Larsen breathed hard. His chest ached, his arms trembled, but his mind moved like a storm. He wasn't trained for war, but every second of his life fixing things gave him something the Zyrak didn't have: understanding of systems, of failure, of sudden sparks that changed everything. He crouched beside the fusion coil he'd activated. It wasn't meant to explode, not exactly. But it could blind sensors, knock out comms, and overheat a Zyrak battlesuit. If she got closer, he'd use it, not to kill her but to buy time. Time to turn the whole colony into a trap. The queen stepped forward. Each footfall was slow, controlled. "You think you've won something, human? This is one outpost, one breath of my empire. You delay the storm, not stop it." Larsen didn't answer. He tapped his wrist and rerouted power from the north generators. The floor shook as heavy doors opened. Maintenance bots rolled out, armed with welding torches and mining drills. Not weapons, but in his hands, they became something more. She narrowed her eyes. "You repurpose trash and call it resistance?" Her voice was sharper now, less amused. "Is this the extent of your strength?" Larsen looked up. His voice didn't rise. "I don't need strength. I just need you to keep underestimating me." That was when the drone swarm returned. They had left to hunt down survivors, but Larsen had changed their targeting commands mid-flight. They circled overhead, scanning for Zyrak signals. The moment one flinched, the drone struck. Fast, silent, deadly. Zyrak warriors fell without a sound. Their suits shorted out, their breathing tubes filled with smoke. The queen snarled and lifted her blade. But even she could see the balance shifting. A general rushed to her side. "Your Majesty, we must regroup. This human, he's controlling the battlefield." She cut him down without blinking. "I do not run from filth." But behind her, more drones activated. More humans crawled from the wreckage. Medics helped the wounded. Engineers passed tools between each other. The colony was coming alive again, not from command, not from strategy, but from stubborn, desperate hope. Larsen moved to the comms tower. He climbed without armor, without guards, slipping through broken supports and sparking wires. At the top, he found the uplink console damaged, but not dead. He connected his interface and began transmitting. The queen's eyes widened. "He's calling for backup," one of her lieutenants hissed. "Earth's response time is slow. He won't make contact before we destroy the tower." But they were wrong. Because Larsen wasn't calling Earth. He was calling the other colonies. The silent ones, the fallen ones. He sent a single signal to every hidden station still listening. "This is Larsen Colony 17. We're not dead. And we're not giving up. If you hear this fight, use what you have. Build what you can. They think we're broken. Show them we're not." The queen roared and leaped toward the tower. Her blade cracked stone as she landed on the platform. Sparks flew as she slashed at him. He barely dodged, tumbling into cables. But the signal was already out. It was too late to stop it. She grabbed him by the collar and lifted him into the air. "You are a nothing, a fixer." "A bug under my boot," Larsen coughed, smiling through blood. "Then why do your hands shake?" She threw him down hard. The metal cracked beneath him. Pain shot through his ribs, but he forced himself up. She raised her blade again, but the ground shook violently. The tower's base erupted in smoke. One of the mining bots had burrowed through the wall. It carried explosive drills meant for deep-core rock. It slammed into her with enough force to knock her backward. Her blade went flying off the edge. Larsen staggered to his feet and pointed at her. "Go home. Or stay and see what happens when Powerless becomes dangerous." She stared at him, breathing hard. Not with fear, but with something close to respect. Something she hated to feel. Her shuttle hovered above, waiting. A decision hung in the air like static. She could kill him, but the cost would be greater than her pride could afford. Around her, too many Zirak had fallen. Too many had seen her struggle. She turned, stepped into the shuttle, and left the ground without a word. Larsen fell to his knees, shaking. Not in weakness, but because he was still alive. And because the war wasn't over yet. It had only just begun. Rain poured over Colony 17 as survivors worked through the night. Broken walls were patched with steel sheets. Fallen towers became new signal posts. Drones circled above, scanning the skies. The humans didn't sleep. They rebuilt because there was no other choice. Larsen sat on a supply crate, his ribs wrapped in cloth, his eyes red from smoke. Around him, children helped carry parts. Medics passed tools like they were precious metal. The Queen had left, but her threat hadn't. They all knew she would return. No orders came from Earth. The Central Command had gone silent weeks ago. But Larsen's broadcast had reached someone. Lights flickered on in distant colonies. Messages began arriving, some broken, some full of static, but all carrying the same word. Alive. He played each message twice. Faces of strangers appeared, speaking from bunkers and broken labs. "We heard you, we're ready. Just tell us what to do." He wasn't a leader, he wasn't trained for this. But somehow they believed in him. A woman in a mechanic's suit approached him. "You started something, Larsen. If you stop now, we all fall." He looked down at his hands. They still shook. He wasn't made for this war. But maybe the war didn't care who was made for it. Maybe it just needed someone too stubborn to stop. While Colony 17 prepared, far beyond the stars, the Queen stood inside her throne hall. Her armor was cracked. Her pride was bruised. Around her, Zirak commanders waited in silence. She hadn't spoken since her return. A general cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, should we deploy orbital fire on Colony 17? She didn't respond. She turned to a glass panel and replayed the footage. Larsen, dirty and hurt, standing on the comms tower, his voice steady, his systems reactivating, his mechs responding to him like loyal beasts. She stared at the image for a long time. Then she whispered, "He made machines believe in him. Do you understand what that means?" The general frowned. "He's just a human. A low-ranked technician. His strength is illusion." She spun, eyes glowing with rage. "No, his strength is choice. He chose to fight, chose to lead. That kind of strength spreads like fire. And it burns empires." Back on Earth's edge, Larsen climbed onto a platform built from scrap. His voice echoed over every working signal. "They're watching us, waiting for us to crawl. We're not crawling, we're rising. One bolt, one shield. One scream at a time." Other colonies began sending resources, not much. A few drones, some power cells. A single old warship that barely flew. But when Larsen saw it land, half-cracked and leaking fuel, he placed his hand on its hull and said, "We'll fly again." An old soldier named Raynor arrived that night. His face was scarred, and he walked with a limp. He looked Larsen in the eye and said, "I fought during the First Contact War, thought it was over. Now I see why I'm still alive." "You need someone to train these people," Larsen nodded. "We'll need more than weapons. We'll need engineers, code breakers, builders," Raynor smiled. "Good, because that's what wins wars, not big guns. Big minds." Meanwhile, the Queen prepared her second assault. This time, she would bring more than soldiers. She would bring subverters, agents trained to infiltrate, corrupt, and twist. Her orders were simple: break Larsen. Break the idea of Larsen. Days passed. Then one of the colony's water plants exploded. Pipes burst. Supplies vanished. A medic was found poisoned. No ships were seen above. No enemies were caught. But something was wrong. Sabotage had begun. Larsen studied the wreckage. Someone's inside the walls, hiding, undoing everything. Raynor checked defenses. "We need to trap the spy, lure them in, make them think we're weaker than we are." So they staged a blackout in Sector 6, turned off the lights, pulled out the guards, and waited. Hours later, the trap worked. A Zirek infiltrator crept toward the generator thin, armored in dark scales, moving like smoke. The moment they touched the wires, the floor electrified. And sealed. Captured. The spy hissed in rage. But what shocked the humans more wasn't her fangs or her claws. It was what she whispered when she saw Larsen. You're the one the Queen watches every night. You've made her afraid. She dreams of fire. She sees your hands. She sees your eyes." Larsen didn't smile. He simply stared at her and said, "Tell her to dream louder." "I'm not done yet." The spy was locked away, and the sabotage stopped. But now everyone in the colony understood something terrifying and beautiful. They were more than survivors now. They were symbols. And Larsen, the man once mocked as powerless, had become a threat the galaxy couldn't ignore. The sunrise over Colony 17 looked softer than usual. But the light touched broken towers, melted gates, and scorched machines. The humans had survived another day, but no one celebrated. Everyone knew what was coming. Larsen stood beside the main gate, watching children repair a drone's wing. They used scraps and wires as if they were building toys. But he saw the truth in their eyes. This wasn't a game. This was the only way they knew to fight. More messages came in from far-off colonies. Some offered fighters. Some offered maps of old supply routes. One message simply said, "You gave us a reason to try." That line repeated in his mind as he worked. Inside the command tent, Raynor rolled out a dusty chart. "She'll come with everything next time. Elite forces, planet busters, orbital strikes. We can't match that. But we can make it cost her." Larsen circled a spot on the map. "We won't meet her where she expects. If she wants Colony 17, let her take the shell. We'll strike her core ships while she watches our walls." The plan was simple and dangerous. Fake a collapse. Lure the Queen's pride into a shallow victory, then crush her reinforcements from below. It required perfect timing, perfect trust, and just enough luck to hold the sky together. In the Queen's chamber, she read a report on the captured spy. Her lips tightened as she reached the part that said Larsen's name, made her soldiers hesitate. Her advisors begged her to wait, to plan, to gather more intelligence. She crushed their arguments with a single command. No more whispers. "I want him broken. I want the colony ash." She personally led the fleet this time. 6 carriers, dozens of cruisers, thousands of warriors. Her ship, the Seraph's Fang, had destroyed 3 human worlds before. She expected no different here, but as they approached Colony 17, they found no defense field, no active drones. No turrets online, only silence. Her general smiled. They've given up, she narrowed her eyes. No, this is something else. Still. She ordered the landing. Drop pods rained down like fire. Zyrak troopers stormed the streets, expecting resistance. They found dust, shadows, empty barracks, open gates. Then the doors slammed shut behind them. And from the ground below, something rose. Larsen's team had built a tunnel system through the old sewer grids. He had mapped every inch, reconnected every wire, hidden every bomb. When the Queen's forces entered the colony, they entered a cage. Explosions tore through the main square. MP blasts knocked out Zyrak suits. Hidden cannons rose from rooftops. From underground, human-built walkers climbed out like steel beasts. The Queen landed hard. Blade drawn, screaming commands. But her warriors were cut off from her. Comms failed. Orders vanished in static. Confusion spread. Fear followed. Raynor led the counterattack. He rode inside a repurposed cargo hauler now armed with plasma tanks. He barked into the comms, pushed them back, hit fast, hit deep. Then vanish. Larsen stayed underground, eyes locked on a holo display. Every red dot was a target. Every blue flicker was someone alive because of what they had built. He whispered. Hold just a little longer. The Queen reached the command tower. But instead of defenses, she found a single chair with a screen. Larsen appeared on it, covered in soot, eyes steady. Welcome to the ruins. You like what we've done with the place? She growled. You insult me with games. This is not war, he answered. No, this is what happens when you think war is about crushing. War is about bleeding. And you're the one bleeding now. She swung her blade and sliced the screen. But another one lit up. Then another. His voice followed her down every hallway. You brought fire to kill insects. But insects dig, insects swarm, insects don't quit. Now feel our sting. Her fleet above tried to respond. But they found. Their weapons jammed, their engines overloading. Larsen had hacked into their systems through a decoy drone launched days ago. It wasn't a weapon. It was a key. A massive Zyrak destroyer exploded in orbit. Its fall shook the sky. The Queen looked up from the tower and saw her ships crumbling. Not from force, but from clever, quiet sabotage. Her voice cracked as she screamed into her helmet. Retreat! Get us out. But the skies no longer obeyed her. The humans had taken control of the space grid. One by one, her escape paths vanished. Her pride sank with every burning wreck above. Then came the moment that shifted everything. A child no. Older than 10 stood in front of her with a plasma torch. Not to fight, just to block her way. She could have cut him down in a breath, but she didn't, because behind him stood 20 more. And behind them hundreds. No weapons. Just eyes that refused to look away. For the first time in her life, the Queen lowered her blade, not in defeat, but in recognition. The humans hadn't broken. They had become something she couldn't control, and that scared her more than any weapon ever could. The smoke that filled the sky above Colony 17 began to fade. Wrecked Zyrak ships burned across the fields. Black metal wings lay broken across hills of rubble. But no cheers rose from the humans, not yet. They knew this wasn't the end. Larsen stood in the old refinery tower, arms crossed, staring at the battlefield from above. His voice was calm over the comms. Don't chase the retreating ones. Let them run. They'll spread our story better than any message we send. The Queen's flagship had escaped with only a handful of ships. But even her escape had cost her more than soldiers or ships. It had cost her something she didn't understand: control. Inside her damaged war chamber, she stood silent, alone. Her generals had fallen. Her pride had cracked. Her empire built. On fear now whispered a name she had once mocked. Not a soldier. Not a king. Just a man with tools and fire in his eyes. A voice echoed in the hall behind her. It came from a traitor, one of her own commanders who had survived the last battle but chose to speak boldly. He did what none of us believed possible. He changed. The meaning of power. She turned slowly, her hand trembling. Power is domination. Power is taking what you want. The traitor stepped closer. Not anymore. Now power looks like survival. Like defiance. Like rebuilding after you break us. She didn't strike him. Not because she agreed, but because she feared proving him right. Back on Colony 17, the wounded were being treated in tents built from dropship parts. Children brought clean water. To the medics. Engineers fixed walkers with nothing but scrap and fire. And Larsen moved from one corner of the camp to the next, never resting. Raynor limped up beside him, a datapad in hand. We intercepted a transmission. She's regrouping. Preparing to strike another colony new bastion, Larsen nodded. She's testing us. She wants to know if we'll follow her, Raynor sighed. Will we? Larsen didn't blink. We have to. If we don't help them, we prove her point. That we're only strong when attacked. It's time to choose our battlefield. The next day, Colony 17 launched its first real fleet. The warship Hawk's Wing led the charge, its engines repaired with parts from mining drills. Every pilot had trained only for a week. Every gunner had used welding torches longer than rifles. And yet, they flew like they belonged in the Morzin. Stars, new bastions shimmered in orbit, its defenses thin and outdated. It had never seen war. Its leaders had begged for help but expected none. When Larsen's fleet arrived, their people cried not from fear but from disbelief. The Queen was already there. Her ships hung above the colony like blades ready to fall. She hadn't attacked yet. She wanted to make a show. Break the humans with fear again. She didn't expect resistance. When the first volley came from the Hawk's Wing, it didn't target her fleet. It shot directly into the gravity grid, disrupting every Zyrak sensor in orbit. Her ships spun in confusion, weapons blinking in the dark. Then came the swarm, drones modified from colony harvesters. They flew in tight formations, spraying EMP bursts, blinding her pilots, hacking open ports. They weren't beautiful. They weren't graceful, but they were unstoppable, the Queen snarled. He dares strike first. She launched her elite fighters, silent killers wrapped in shadows. But they found human resistance waiting. Ships that didn't dodge but collided. Gunners that fired point blank, no rules. Only will. In the heart of the battle, Larsen piloted a small rig, wired to control dozens of drones remotely. His voice echoed across the fleet. We're not here to win. We're here to protect. If we bleed today, make sure she knows we did it standing. Her fleet began to fall. One ship lost control and crashed into another. Human forces pushed forward. New Bastion activated its long-dormant railguns and joined the firestorm. The Queen's command ship blinked red. Inside the control room, her breath came fast. She turned to her captain. He was a technician. He fixed machines. He shouldn't have been a threat, the captain whispered. He didn't fix machines, he fixed people. That's what we couldn't predict. The Queen screamed and raised her blade. Toward the map, he is not a symbol, he is not a god. He is a man. And I will kill him with my own hands. But even as she spoke, her flagship was struck from beneath. A single drone, rigged with nuclear fuel cells, rammed the lower hull. The explosion cracked half the command deck. The Queen was forced to retreat again. New Bastion was saved. Colony 17 didn't lose a single pilot. And the message echoed through human space like thunder. We can win. Even if we were never meant to. Asterisk, the stars above Earth's outer rim turned quiet after the Battle of New Bastion. No Zyrak fleet moved, no raiders came. For the first time in years, human colonies could breathe without fear. But no one celebrated. Because they all knew one thing. The Queen wasn't finished. Inside the deepest part of her empire, she stood alone on a glass bridge above a black sun. Her armor was melted in places. Her eyes were dark with rage. She had failed to crush them. Twice, her name no longer caused panic. That was a wound she could not allow to stay. She spoke to no generals. She gave no orders. She prepared one last attack herself, a weapon built to erase a planet, not conquer it, not rule it, just destroy it. Colony 17 was the target, but something unexpected reached her first. A message, personal, from Larsen. It was short, sent through a hijacked beacon. Stop hiding behind your empire. Come finish this yourself. No armies, no fleets. Just you and me. She stared at the message, breathing slowly. Then she whispered, "He still thinks he matters." But she accepted the challenge. On the edge of a forgotten moon, the two met. Not in orbit, not in space, but on the dirt, beneath the stars. A broken station stood nearby, its antennas twisted and lifeless. Wind blew across a land with no name. Larsen stood without armor. Only a jacket, worn boots, and the fusion coil strapped to his back. Beside him, a small drone hovered, recording everything. Not to broadcast, just to witness. The Queen stepped down from her drop pod. Her blade glowed softly. She wore no crown. Her cloak was gone. This wasn't a ruler now. This was a fighter with nothing left to lose. She spoke first. "You asked for this." A technician, challenging a queen. Larsen didn't blink. "I didn't challenge a queen. I challenged a coward hiding behind soldiers." Her teeth bared. "You think words can cut me?" "No," he said. "But truth can." She charged, blade slicing through the dust. He ducked, rolled, and fired a burst of plasma from his tool rig. It wasn't meant to kill, just slow her. She stumbled. But not for long. Her blade came again, and this time it burned through his sleeve. He winced, fell back, then slammed a power core into the ground. The shockwave knocked both of them apart. She rose, coughing smoke. "You still use tricks. Still run from strength." He stood, bleeding. "And you still confuse fear with respect." Their battle raged across the rocks. She moved like fire. He moved like wind. She cut deep. He made her miss. He dropped drones that tangled her steps. She struck back, breaking his ribs with a kick. But still he stood. Time slowed. The stars above watched. The black sun boiled behind them. Then she made her final move, one clean strike aimed at his chest. Larsen triggered the fusion coil on his back. It flared like a dying star. Not an explosion, but a pulse. Energy burst in every direction. It froze her blade mid-air. It shorted every circuit in her armor. It brought silence. She collapsed to her knees, coughing, gasping. Her blade hissed on the ground beside her. She looked up at him, half broken, blood on his face, but eyes burning. He walked slowly to her side. Picked up her weapon, held it out. "Take it. Finish it. Or admit you've already lost." She stared at him. At his open hand, at the fire behind his calm. For the first time, she saw it clearly. He didn't hate her. He didn't want to kill her. He wanted to end the cycle. She lowered her head. "I don't understand you," she whispered. He nodded. "You were never supposed to." She rose to her feet slowly, without the blade. Behind her, the drop pod's light blinked. "If I leave now, my empire will collapse," Larsen replied, "or it will rebuild without fear. You can still choose." She stepped back, looked at him one last time, then turned away. The ship rose into the sky and vanished. No words, no threats. Just an end. Back at Colony 17, a message appeared on every screen. "The Queen has withdrawn. The war is over. We are free." People cried, not out of joy, but because they could finally rest. Larsen sat alone near the same crate where it had all begun. Children played nearby. Engineers laughed over broken parts. Drones flew above without targets. For the first time, silence felt like peace, and when someone asked him what he was now, a leader, a warrior, a legend, he only answered with a tired smile, "I'm still just a guy who fixes things."